The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
What Are You Afraid of is back.
Yes, we're back.
I know, it's amazing. We keep coming back.
Yeah, we do. We just, for whatever reason, keep coming back.
We're like a bad penny. the bad penny that loves ghost stories.
Yeah, and if you swallow the penny, sometimes it won't come back.
No, right. And it'll be in there forever.
Yep, but we keep coming back.
We do. But this is episode 135, Grey Ghosts and Authors.
Yes. Grey Ghosts.
Grey Ghosts, the Grey Ghost. And on this episode, we're coming back to our authors. We haven't really spent time with a fiction author since C.V. Hunt.
Right. It's been a while. Yes, and that was October.
Yeah, it was. We had Joe Lansdale, then we had C.V. Hunt on, and we've been doing mostly ghost stories and ghost material and some horror fiction since then. But I thought it would be nice if we checked in with the core of hardworking authors out there. And I did an interview with author Mark Sheldon several months ago, and just the way the content was spinning, we sort of have to create the shows as we go, and I need to make sure we get plenty of paranormal stuff in, fit it in with the horror stuff and the author stuff. So I've been holding on to his interviews and his short story excerpt for a while now, so I'm glad I think he'll be glad he'll be on.
Yeah, I agree. And, I heard the interview, and it's very good, and I'm glad we're finally getting to him, and because, like you said, it's been several months.
It has been, but we're going to be getting back into authors again. Of course, we only do 2 shows a month. We have to, because otherwise this would be very overwhelming. But it would be. We were doing 3 shows there for a while, and I wasn't. We weren't getting anything else done. I just finally said, "Look, we got to cut down."
Yeah, I remember. It was like, I think it was a point where we're doing 4 a month too, like one every week.
Yeah, well, that for Halloween we do extras.
Right, we do. Right.
Yeah,
that's par for the course around that time of year,
Yeah, and then we take a break.
We were doing, more than 2 though, just any time of year though. For a while there.
We were doing 3, and it was just too much.
It was getting there. It was going to be a lot.
And this way we can focus our content on 2 shows and bring some excellent content on What Are You Afraid of?
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's quality over quantity.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're back on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show. Find us on Parax Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. and check out our awesome website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where I will be putting up interviews from the new Bloodbound Books anthology, Crash Code.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a series of stories from various authors all about the dark and terrible future that's coming, kind of like a Black Mirror.
It's the feel good of the year, right?
It is, absolutely. Well, I have a story in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Wonderful.
Oh, it's called The Children's Crusade.
Oh, it's very nice.
Yeah, it's all about how we start putting connectivity devices into our heads and begin connecting to each other at an instant level at the speed of thought, and it begins to affect our evolution.
Yeah, I can imagine it would. I mean, that's just... I don't know. That's kind of a scary thought,
It
being able to
is.
communicate with, because I mean, it's essentially reading other people's thoughts.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just going to affect the way that kids begin developing and growing up, and pretty soon we're going to become dependent on these devices.
Yeah. Can you
So,
imagine being born into a world like that?
you know,
And then that's
it's
all you know. That's all you know. You know.
it's funny, but we were born into a world with enhanced technology, and it's like, can you imagine the kids who were born in the 1800s, what they would think of our world?
Oh, I know. They would be like, "Whoa, yeah." And for us, I mean, if you think about it, it just was. It was just commonplace,
Yeah,
TVs and radios, and that's just the way it was. That's what we have.
right, right.
And but yeah, the 1800 kids, they had none of that. And kids today, I mean, these kids, they grow up with smartphones in their pockets.
Yeah,
We didn't have that. That's one thing we didn't have, though.
no. No, occasionally our family might have a cell phone and they might give it to their kid for safety or protection. But yeah, this concept, I mean, 6-year-olds get cell phones now, and it's something that would have been unheard of in our time
Oh, I know.
because we're
Yeah, I
old.
didn't even hear of cell phones in the 80s until,
Yeah,
it was I didn't hear about them at all in the 80s. It wasn't until the 90s that I started hearing about them,
right. Because we're old. We're very,
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
very. But we're back on What Are You Afraid of
That's,
Horror?
that's true.
But we're back on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal show, and I'm going to be on another show next week,
Oh, what are you going to be on?
The Geeks.
The Geeks, that's right. The
Our dear,
Geeks.
our dear Victoria and Shauna, they pulled me on their show to talk about my work and my history and what are you afraid of, and they made a wonderful little promo with Malcolm.
Oh, wonderful. And you know what? I saw that promo.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Malcolm gets everywhere.
Yeah.
He does.
He does. It was funny because he was like flying at the screen, like, you know.
He's a creepy guy, that Malcolm. He loves attention. So that was fun doing the show. I thank you, Victoria and Shay. And that'll be on next week on Parax Radio, where we're on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And check out our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com for our core of ghost stories, which I'm always adding to. A new page for every episode, interviews with all sorts of wonderful people, articles, and contact information for shows like The Geeks, ParaX, the publishers we work with, the paranormal investigators we work with, and a lot of other fun stuff. And we're doing something else cool in March, aren't we, Phil?
Yes, we are. I am very, very much looking forward to it. It is the Phenon Paranormal Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's March. Well, it goes technically from 26 right to the 28.
Yeah,
But,
Thursday through
yeah,
Sunday.
right, or 29th, I should say.
But we will be there with a table in the vendor room and hanging out with all the awesome people. Some people we know, some people from television, some great authors, plus a lot of different paranormal shows from ParaX will be there. In fact, we're getting, it sounds like our own little section. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea this even existed.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know either. I've gone to horror conventions and things like that, but never to this one in Lancaster before.
And that's what happened was Rebecca Brumble, owner with her husband Eric at ParaX, contacted me a week ago and said, "So you're going to have a table at Phenom 2020, right?" And I'm like, "Well, sure, of course we are. What the hell's Phenom 2020?" You know? And she's like, well, I'll send you the link. It's this paranormal convention. It's very popular. It's been going on for years, but you should get a table there. And I'm thinking to myself, what is Rebecca's angle here? She just wants to get scones,
Yeah, yeah.
And so I checked it out, and
We get paid in scones.
We do. Scones I bake.
That's our primary method of payment.
I was sitting next to Allison, who we were watching television that night. Of course, we're in Lancaster now, and she was surprised I didn't know about it. And so I'm like, well, what's this convention about? And I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, God, I really don't feel like getting a hotel room. I can't really drive. I can't take the train up. And I'm like, and where the hell is it? Oh, it's in Lancaster.
Yeah.
It's 9 minutes away from me.
It's 9 minutes away from you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, but I knew it was close to you, but I didn't know it was that close.
It's that close. It's right outside of the city. It's 9 minutes away. And I looked at Allison and I said, well, Rebecca thinks we should have a table at this convention. Of course, she said, well, where is it? And I said, Lancaster. And I told her all about it. And I told her it was a fee for the table. And I was expecting her to sort of hem and haw and be like, no, but we really shouldn't. And then she goes, yeah, do it. I'm like, crap. I'm like, crap.
And that really works out, for you because if this was in like Pittsburgh or something, or Ohio or whatever, or even Gettysburg is not it's not far from you, but it's not exactly around the corner either.
Especially during tax season, it's nearly impossible.
Right. So it works out 9 minutes. You can't get much better than that. I mean, that's perfect timing.
And I think it made Allison feel better because I'm not going to see her until April 17th. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because she's working at the new accounting firm here in Lancaster.
And tax season is like really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. She has to work at least 60 hours a week now. So I don't really see her.
That's pretty much par for the course. My mom worked in accounting for about 25 years, and when during tax season, she was there every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, she'll probably be there. So at least Rebecca can even help me get back and forth. They're staying there at the hotel, so she's offered to help me with transportation. So it's a done deal. So we'll have a table there.
That's awesome. I'm looking so forward to that.
So am I. It was a surprise, and then I told you about it. You're like, yeah, do it, Fox, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
So that'll be fun. We'll be there at Phenom 2020. I hear it's an incredible event. It's gone on for years, and their room, been so popular this year that they actually expanded. They added another room to it. Otherwise, it would have been sold out, but it's been so popular, and that's how we got in, because Rebecca wants to do a special Para X section because there'll be 4 or 5 shows there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you looked on the website, but there's actually they actually feature Para X on the website.
They do.
Saying guest Para X,
Yeah, so we'll be there with Para X. So very cool, yes, Rebecca. Thank you so much. You can find information about Phenom. I'll be putting it up on an event on our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. I really thought we were done with events after Cape May for a while.
Yeah, but that one was a good one too.
Mm-hmm. So, living in Lancaster, I told you about the ghost that I saw when I was doing laundry in the laundry room, right? Remember that?
Yes, you did.
It came down the stairs, and I looked out the side of my eye, and it was gone. Well, something else happened.
Oh, something else? Oh, something since then happened, huh?
We've got a follow-up. So,
nice.
I'm able to get laundry over there when I'm well enough, every 4 or 5 days. Sometimes I just do 1 load. Sometimes I'm able to do 2 or 3, depending how I feel. And I was over there doing laundry last Thursday, and again, it happened. I had my headphones in, and I swear someone called my name.
Really?
Yeah, like
said Fox?
Yeah, or something like that. It sounded like Fox, but I had my headphones on, So I turned my head expecting it to be a neighbor. Maybe Allison had to come tell me something, and she brought me some clothes I dropped. And I thought I saw someone walking towards me, and again, they were gone.
Wow.
So I finished packing up my laundry.
So this happened. So not just once, but it happened a second time.
It's happened a few times now.
That's more than a coincidence, I'd say.
Maybe I misheard it. Maybe I just heard a noise. But I swear, over my headphones, I was listening to cabaret at the time. I listen to stage shows when I'm doing laundry.
Oh, nice!
And I swear, cabaret, huh? I heard someone call Fox over my headphones. And so here's the thing: I got this eerie feeling like I was being watched.
Right.
You know that feeling.
And, I know that feeling. Yeah.
And so the whole way, as I was walking back across the parking lot, carrying a sack of laundry over my shoulder, I kept having this instinct to turn around and see if somebody was following me.
Right.
And I felt that way all the way up the stairs into my apartment.
Wow. So when you got into your apartment, did you still have that same sense, or did it kind of disappear when you went in?
No, I left it at the door, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. That's good, though. At least it wasn't in your apartment after you got inside. You still have that uneasy feeling.
Because we're in an old building here. This goes back, And, of course, it was a garage that they put 2 apartments upstairs, and it's several decades back, and so the building's falling apart a little bit, and it's big. I mean, I have several rooms here. It's cavernous, and I've already had nightmares. I keep having nightmares about the place.
Really?
And I had more nightmares last night that I kept waking up from. So I woke up this morning, and I put on sci-fi as I'm getting comfortable taking meds and trying to work off my back. And there was a movie starting called The Boy. And it was about this older couple who hires a nanny from the States to come over and live at their old estate and take care of this doll that they have used to replace their son who died in a fire.
You know what? I actually saw that. I did see that.
The Boy?
What did you think of it? What did you think of the ending?
I enjoyed the film. It was atmospheric. It had lots of red herrings in it. But the ending, I felt, was a little prosaic. Like, it made sense, but it's been done to death. Yeah,
you're right. It has been. And there's another series, and I can't think of the name. There's like 4 films that has to do with a doll. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I've seen it advertised.
They're on Amazon Prime. There's like 4 of them on there. Yeah, I just can't. The title's eluding me right now, but I actually put them on my queue. But yeah, I got to check them out.
But as for atmospheric and a great build-up and a great ghost story, it was quite compelling to watch.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I did like it. I mean, I know when it came out, it was met with fairly low reviews.
Yeah.
The critics weren't really liking it. But you know what? Like, I saw the trailer a couple times, and I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. And I rented it, and I watched it, and I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. But the thing is, with the nightmares and everything, and being alone in this house with it being so cold out, it freaked me out. So all of a sudden, I'm hearing things walking in the walls.
Right, okay. Yeah.
And I'm hearing this doll walk around on these wooden floors, and I just said, I'm in pain, but I gotta get the hell out of here. So I took a shower, and I packed up my laptop, and I went down to Square One Coffee on the corner here.
I have a dare for you.
Okay.
Because this is a legit dare.
Okay.
One time, whenever, before the next show.
Okay.
When Allison is not home and it's dark out and it's cold.
Yep.
Put on The Strangers.
Just
watch it by yourself.
Man, you're killing me. Okay, I shall do this. I have not seen it, and I shall see The Strangers.
That's even better.
I have not seen it.
You haven't seen it. That's even better that you haven't seen it. Like I said, you don't have to do it, but it's a dare.
Oh, I'm doing it.
If you choose to, okay, accept. Right.
I accept. I've chosen to accept.
Okay, because that one will get to you. Trust me.
But speaking of well-written novels and movies and such, we are back to authors, and we have author Mark Sheldon on the show on episode 135 tonight. Now, we're going to start with a ghost story that he contributed to with some of his experiences. Mark used to work on the Queen Mary in Long Beach Harbor, California. Of course, the Queen Mary is an old ghost ship that's famous for many ghost stories, and he contributed some of his personal experiences to this ghost story, and I helped modify it and edit it and add information to it. So we're going to play The Gray Ghost, and then we're going to go to an interview with Mark and play an excerpt from his novel, Sarah Killian, on episode 135 of What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio on Friday nights. And check out our website for more information at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of?
Hi, I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls.
This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid of?
What Are You Afraid of?
To What Are You Afraid of?
What are you afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
Explore the darkness.
Find out what goes bump in the night. Did you hear that?
Did you see that? What's that bright light in the sky? Oh, we so need to investigate.
Calling all witches and sensitives.
Explore the paranormal.
With host
Shauna
and Vicky.
From Geeks Paranormal.
Wednesdays
at 9 Eastern.
8 Central.
Let's explore. On ParaXRadio.com.
The Gray Ghost. Ghost Stories of the Queen Mary, Long Beach Harbor, California. Written and researched by T. Fox Dunham, with additional content by author Mark Sheldon, read by Phil Thomas. Like old houses, old ships are rife as vessels of ghost stories and strange encounters, and the Queen Mary is one of the most notorious ships in haunted folklore. Intended to be the flagship of the Cunard Line, the Queen Mary sailed her maiden voyage in May 1936, winning the coveted Blue Robert Award. Cunard intended to name vessel number 534 the Victoria, in keeping with their tradition of naming ships with a moniker that ended with IA. However, when the company asked the king's permission to name the vessel after England's greatest queen, the king replied, "My wife, Mary of Teck, would be delighted." After that, Cunard had no choice but to name the new ship the Queen Mary. With 12 decks, the ship displaced 77,400 long tons and cruised at a speed of 28.5 knots. She carried a crew complement of 1.101 sailors and could ferry 2,139 passengers across the Atlantic. Among the facilities available on board Queen Mary, the liner contained 2 indoor swimming pools, beauty salons, libraries, and children's nurseries for all 3 classes, a music studio and lecture hall, telephone connectivity to anywhere in the world, outdoor paddle tennis courts, and dog kennels. The ship carried such noted figures of history as Greta Garbo, Clark Gable, David Niven, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, and evening Sir Winston Churchill during World War II across the Atlantic. At the start of World War II, her opulent splendor was removed and fitted with bunks to carry troops to staging areas to fight the Axis powers. The ship's hull was painted a navy gray, and because of her incredible speed and color, she was nicknamed the Gray Ghost. As a troop vessel, she carried over 800,000 soldiers to the front, even participating in the preparation of the D-Day landings on the Normandy coast. With the availability of airline travel, she was retired in 1967. The ship was permanently moored in Long Beach, California, as a tourist attraction, hotel, museum, event hall. And of course, a vessel of such noted history has her share of ghost stories, far more than this story reports. 49 deaths are attributed to the Gray Ghost. On October 2nd, 1942, the Queen Mary, serving as a troop transport, sliced through the light cruiser HMS Curacoa off the Irish coast. Nearly 300 sailors went into the icy sea, but the vessel couldn't slow down to recover them. 239 soldiers died in the accident, and it is said you can still hear them banging against the hull, pleading to be rescued. In the pool area, passengers and tourists report hearing children running down the empty corridors or splashing in the pool when no one is there. The ghosts of a few different women who died in that area can sometimes be seen sitting and relaxing by the pool in bathing suits. The spirit of a young girl who broke her neck sliding down the banister wanders the area or searches the nursery for Mommy, never to find her. Wet footprints have been found making a path in the pool, even though no one has been swimming. Some tourists have even reported seeing the little girl standing by the pool, clutching her teddy bear. She then vanishes. In another part of the vessel, a tall fellow with dark hair wearing a 1930s-style suit appears among the old passenger cabins. Running lights shine in the night, though they're switched off. Located 50 feet below the ocean, the engine room was used in the filming of the movie The Poseidon Adventure. The notorious Door 13 crushed men to death, most recently during a drill in 1966. Other sailors died in a fire, and the feeling of intense heat can be felt from the bulkhead. Strange lights and unusual knocks are often witnessed by staff around the engine room. Even the vessel's kitchens are roamed by an angry spirit. Legend has it that a chief was so hated by the troops at his foul cooking that he was shoved into one of his ovens during a brawl when he roasted to his demise. People hear screams coming from inside the oven, though no one is ever found hiding within. Guest author Mark Sheldon shares his own paranormal experiences aboard the Queen Mary. Mark writes the following. Several years ago, I spent about a year working graveyard shift on the original Queen Mary ship hotel in Long Beach. You would think that working in a graveyard shift on one of the most haunted structures in the world would have led to a plethora of good supernatural encounters. But the vast majority of experiences that occurred in the year I worked there came from guests. And for the majority of these reportings, there were other substances clearly involved. However, there was one incident that I personally experienced, which I cannot explain, and occurred toward the end of my tenure on board. I worked at the front desk, and behind the desk there was a long hallway, about 20 to 30 feet long, that led from the desk to the back office area. While there were plenty of areas on the ship that were definitely dark and creepy, this area was well lit and not particularly imagination-inducing. One night, I was walking down this hallway from the front desk toward the back office, when there came a bang, like a cabinet door closing. From the back office in a shadow, about the size of a child, flitted across the end of the hallway in front of me. There was nobody else in the back office at the time of the night, and I had one coworker on shift with me, but he was at the front desk when it happened, and that area of the ship was not open to anyone but employees, so there was no one else that could have been back there to make that noise or to cast the shadow, and sure enough, when I made it to the end of the hall, the office was empty. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your experience. There are many haunted houses in the world, more and more every year, but few places can hold a withering candle to a vessel with such a noble history in war and peace.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
We'll be profiling author Mark Sheldon and presenting some of his work. You know, we do the ghost thing, we do paranormal investigations, we've been talking a lot about ghost stories from New Orleans, and we've even talked about aliens with Mr. Chuck Zukowski from the Travel Channel's Alien Highway, and it was a lot of fun speaking to Chuck, and hopefully we'll get him back on the show as we start moving into August and September, and we could begin looking forward to our horror extravaganza that we do during the Halloween month of October. Now, we go back and forth again, and sometimes we profile authors, and that's what we're about. We're a dark horror magazine, and we're there to support indie authors, authors in general, film directors, musicians, and of course, if you're a fan of the show, you know, after 124 episodes, we've spoken to many in our time. Now, we'll be talking to Mark Sheldon. Now, Mark Sheldon is a U.S. author writing from his home in Southern California, where he lives with his wife, Betsy. He is a horror, suspense, and spy thriller author, often breaking new ground by fusing new genres in his writing. Crystal Lake recently released his novel, Sarah Killian. Sarah Killian is a foul-mouthed and mean-spirited serial killer who works for THEM, them, or the Trusted Hierarchy of Everyday Murderers. Sarah is targeted by her former nemesis in this page-turner. It was also a unique blending of the horror, thriller, and spy espionage thriller genre. He is also the author of The Norrisan Chronicles, his debut novel that was released in 12 parts. It is a dark and compelling novel about the Norrisanites, a secret race of superhumans who have been hiding in the shadows of civilization for centuries. It's an inner world that's eventually torn apart by a genocidal maniac known as the Scorpion. Find the Norrisan Chronicles at the following website, Norrisan, Norricin, webs.com, where you can find the first 3 chapters free. Mark is a prolific and creative author who blends genres to write compelling stories. He lists his influences as Douglas Adams, Dan Brown, Dean Koontz, J.K. Rowling, and Roald Dahl. We're glad to have him on the show. Thank you, Mark, for coming. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, glad to. So, your latest book, Sarah Killian, was just released in June from Crystal Lake. Congratulations. Could you tell us about the book?
Sure. This one is actually the second book in the Sarah Killian series. This one is titled The Mullets of Madness. And Sarah is basically a serial killer for hire. She works for, as you stated, the secret organization THEM, the Trusted Hierarchy of Everyday Murderers. And they basically contract her out to go out into the world and do serial killing for hire.
Fantastic, and I get a feeling of like the Umbrella Academy. I imagine there's a lot of humor in the book, a little bit of wit. It's definitely some unconventional material, and it sounds like you've created an anti-hero in the character of Sarah Killian. So,
yes, absolutely.
Where did the idea for this book come from? How did you create it?
Well, it originally started with the name Sarah Killian. I'd been working for a music licensing company, basically doing data entry, and it was even more mundane than that sounds, in that every day I was basically entering the same 50 songs or whatever into the database over and over and over. And on this list, there was a song by Sarah McLachlan, followed by a song by an artist whose name I don't remember now, but the last name was Killian. And so I kept seeing Sarah and Killian, and I kept laughing to myself, that sounds like serial killer. And then from there, the title Sarah Killian, Serial Killer for Hire, just kind of sprung up, and that was the title of the first book. And once the title came into my mind, the character just kind of wrote herself from there. And the first chapter of the first book really just kind of came out naturally as she described the world that she lived in, where she would be a serial killer for hire and what kind of work a serial killer for hire would do.
Right, so your writer's sort of neurons just kind of fired off when you kept hearing the name come together, and for a moment that magical spark of inspiration happened where you go, wouldn't that be interesting if there was? I love that moment.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
We get hit by the most random things that people always ask you where you get your ideas from, and it's like chaos theory. They just sort of hit when we associate things and we're bored, especially. Boredom is good fuel for authors.
Absolutely.
And it's just cool when our authors come on and they've also had a ghost story so we can sort of tie it all together on the show. So it must have been quite the experience working the graveyard ship there in Long Beach. Do you have anything you want to say about that experience?
That was the one experience I had there. I had a lot more experiences of guests reporting stuff to me, but I didn't. You'd think that the graveyard shift would be the shift that sees everything, but that was the only encounter I had in the just over a year that I worked there. But it was a really cool place to work. That's for sure, because we got to go into all of the places that the general public generally doesn't get to go by themselves. So that was a lot of fun, and just walking around the deck at sunrise was absolutely beautiful.
What's the strangest thing a guest told you?
We had a guest one night who started digging up the tiles in her bathroom because she claimed a voice told her to start digging. So she proceeded to dig where she could, and the tile in the bathroom was what she decided to dig up.
Oh my word. So That I'm sure you billed her for that at some point.
Yeah.
Wow, and the ghost told her to do it. Incredible. Oh, that was a great little story, and we're glad to have you. This is episode 124, Dark Thoughts with author Mark Sheldon on Parax Radio. So, returning to the subject of your writing, studying your work, I get the sense you enjoy writing intricate and nuanced work, but it must take a while to plan out so many layers. What is your creative process like?
Well, generally, you are correct. I do a lot of planning ahead of time. With the Sarah Killian books, I actually haven't done that so much. I've got a general idea of the arc of the story from start to finish. But other than that, I really just, with this, I wanted to do something different than my usual plotting out and planning, and just write and make it up as I was going along. And it really lent itself well because Sarah's character is very schizophrenic and bipolar and very sporadic herself. So it really lent itself to her character to have the story not be quite so plotted out and organized as my previous books had been.
So do you use index cards, notebooks? Do you write up databases?
For the Norrisan Chronicles, I had about 12 notebooks that I just basically had sketched out the plot of each book in before I even started writing the first book. So yeah, I'll do notebooks. I'll sometimes do straight into Word for my sketches, but usually for my sketchings, I'll actually use a notebook.
Right, I do the same thing myself. I love my notebooks, and I fill them up. You just go through so many of them.
Yeah.
Authors, we're tree killers in the end. We kill so much paper.
Yeah.
Well, the Norrisan Chronicles was released as a 12-part series. Why did you go this route for the release of your first novel?
Well, that's just really how that series came to my head. I wanted it to be 12 was a very important number to the series itself, so it needed it. I always knew it would be 12 books, and the plot was just that intrinsic that I really had to coordinate it and make it all fit. So it was very ambitious for my first novel, and I probably would not have, if I could go back and do something simpler, I probably would have for my first one, but in the end, I think it worked out well.
Authors always start out ambitious. We always, have these grand, they always want to do things in trilogies or 5-part series, and for some reason we always think that, doing a trilogy means somehow it'll be even greater and more respected, and it's just, right. It ends up being a whole lot of work and a far greater commitment of time for you and your readers. But I seem to notice you mention your villains a lot in your work, even sometimes more than your heroes. How do you create your villains?
Oh, well, for the Norrisan Chronicles, the Scorpion really was the central. I mean, he actually was even more integral to the overall plot of the stories than the hero. It was really the Scorpion's backstory had been in my mind for 20 years, probably. And so the rest of the story kind of built up around that. And with Sarah Killian, again, she's the anti-hero, but she's also got her own nemesis. And in Sarah Killian, her nemesis is Nick Jin, a former Them member who has been discommunicated. And with him, it just kind of came about as what would be the villain in this world, and it made sense for it to be an excommunicated member of Them.
Excellent, and it's very tidy. It's nicely tied together. So you've had these stories in you for years and years, it sounds like.
Yeah, the Norrisan Chronicles this was sort of about 3 or 4 ideas that had been building in my mind for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, one thing came together and they all became one story. Sarah Killian, it was not such an evolutionary process as that. It really just started with the one idea. So Sarah really just went a lot quicker than that. Once I got the idea of the title and the world that she lived in, it just kind of went from there, as opposed to simmering over the years.
Right. No, I understand completely. Sometimes an author can feel compelled to do a story, the idea they've had for decades, and it really does end up becoming painful until you finally get it out of you and just purge it almost in a catharsis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So we have an excerpt from your new novel, Sarah Killian, the second book, which will play now, and we'll be right back with Mark Sheldon. This is from Mark's new novel, available on Amazon.com. Find links to get this book and more information about Mark and Crystal Lake at our website, www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can also find our other ghost story archive and interviews with authors, ghost investigators, plus a page for every episode. Doing this for a while. So this is from Mark's new book on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. We'll be right back.
An excerpt from Sarah Killian, a novel by Mark Sheldon, and read by David Walton. Chapter 1. Do we really have to go through this whole introduce ourselves thing again? The only thing I hate more than introductions is repeating myself. Okay, fine. I'll do this, though I have to say it would be easier for all of us if you just read my first book. So, my name is Sarah Killian, and I am a professional serial killer. Do not confuse me with an assassin. I hate those guys. Every last one. Well, except for Mary Sue. She's an exception. She's an exception to a lot of things. I'll get to her in a bit. In a tortoise shell, I work for a secret organization known as THEM, the Trusted Hierarchy of Everyday Murderers. THEM is clandestinely contracted by private individuals, corporations, or sometimes even the government to complete the dirty work of furtively killing off individuals or groups of people. I won't bother covering the assassin side of things because that's pretty much just the boring run-of-the-mill shit you've seen in every Hollywood movie. Snore. No, the interesting side of THEM operations is my side. The Professional Serial Killers, or PSKs. Basically, when a client of THEM wants to wipe out a large group of people discreetly, a PSK gets sent in undercover to make it look like it was the work of a serial killer. The PSK positions themselves in the community for several months, sometimes even years, and creates a profile of the killer they will be portraying, the herring. Sometimes the herring is one of the marks that will be killed, and at the end of the mission, the PSK will make it look as if the herring killed themselves. Other times, the herring is a completely fictitious persona, invented by the PSK, who, at the end of the killing spree, will disappear into the void from whence they came, a la Jack the Ripper or the Zodiac Killer. But that's not all. Not only does the PSK have to stage the persona of the herring, but they also have the dupe, the everyday person they are pretending to be while on assignment. If the herring is not one of the marks, the dupe and the herring could be one and the same. However, that's generally avoided, as you don't want to draw too much attention to your dupe character. The dupe ideally is someone who just blends into the background of the killing spree and does not attract any extra scrutiny from the authorities or public eye. But it's even more complicated than that. Not only on each mission does the PSK have to maintain at least 2 separate personae, but they also have to be able to make each and every case they take completely different, to prevent the feds or amateur investigators from being able to connect the dots and realise multiple cases are the work of one person. As you can imagine, this line of work is ideal for people with multiple personalities. As for getting recruited into THEM, obviously it's not the kind of thing where you can go to a job fair and fill out an application. That would be silly. In order to get hired by THEM, you first have to get on their radar. Kill 5 people without being identified or caught, and you've got THEM's attention, even if they don't know exactly who you are yet. This earns you the label of a recognised but unidentified serial killer, RUSK, meaning THEM has identified your killings as the work of one person. They just don't know who you are. Kill 10 people without getting caught and THEM will try to recruit you. Obviously, they'll have to have identified you before they can recruit you, but THEM is very good at identifying serial killers. So if you kill more than 10 people without getting identified by THEM, you are something special. I used to think I was pretty special because I had killed 13 people before THEM caught up with me. Then I met Mary Sue. She killed 20 people, or 21, she's a bit hazy on that matter, before THEM approached her. Fucking Mary Sue. Sorry, did I mention I have Tourette's? No? Well, I have fucking Tourette's, so you might as well get fucking used to me fucking swearing. Fucking got it? Sorry. Like I said, Tourette's. Anyway, kill more than 10 people without being caught by the feds, and once THEM has successfully identified you, they will come to you with an offer. Work for THEM as a PSK, and they will have your official record expunged, and you will be immune from prosecution for the rest of your life. Reject their offer, and they immediately hand you over to the feds. How can they make such a promise, you might ask? Remember how I mentioned earlier, the government is one of their biggest clients. Yeah, that's how. Obviously, if you've murdered more than 10 people and get offered a deal like that, most people will take the deal. There is, however, a catch. You have to stop killing for pleasure. Cold turkey. One single murder outside of a THEM assignment, and your ass is grass, baby. Your contract with THEM will be nullified, and you get to spend your last remaining days in a padded room, waiting to find out if you get put down by lethal injection. But really, that one caveat is not too much to ask, especially since if I ever get a sudden urge to kill, I can just contact my boss, Zeke, and he's good at finding quick work to satisfy my craving for blood. I was 22 when Zeke approached me, and like I said, I had already killed 13 people at that point, so his offer was a no-brainer. Zeke is, as a matter of fact, the original founder of THEM, and something of a mystery. A disgusting slob of a mystery, but a mystery nonetheless. All I really knew about him is that he used to be a serial killer, but then he retired and founded THEM. To get a picture of Zeke physically, imagine the progeny of the union of Ron Jeremy, Barry Williams, and a seriously obese walrus. In short, just about the only thing going for him physically is his black curly hair. Curly hair is a weakness of mine, and it's the only thing that keeps me from wanting to vomit whenever I see him. I still won't touch the man with a 30-foot pole if I can help it, but at least I don't want to kill him, which would definitely void my contract. Maybe I'm just a disturbed sociopath, but this was actually the perfect job for me. Well, until 4 months ago, that is. I got called onto a job in Duluth, Minnesota. It was just going to be a standard zoo project, i.e. go to a high school, kill a bunch of dumb fuck teenagers, etc. But at the last minute, Zeke slapped me with a trainee, Mary Sue, or Bethany as I knew her at the time. At first, this was not the most welcome of news I could have received. I do not play well with others, especially when those others are obnoxious, bubbly, annoying blonde bimbos like Mary Sue. However, although I hate to admit it, I probably would not be alive to tell you this had she not been with me on that assignment. As it transpired, Bethany was an assassin who Zeke had assigned to me because a former employee of THEM, Nick Ginn, had broken out of prison and gone rogue. Zeke, in his infinite paranoia, was worried that Nick, who was something of a disgruntled former employee, would attempt to interfere with THEM operatives in the field. As it turned out, Zeke was right on the money, because barely a month into my assignment in Duluth, Nick showed up and started killing people in a convoluted scheme worthy of M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong Order to draw my attention so he could try and recruit me into his crusade to bring down THEM. Did I mention that Nick is a raving lunatic? No? Well, he is. Several years ago, the guy went over the deeper end and had a complete and very public psychotic break, almost exposing THEM in the process. Fortunately, the rest of the world dismissed his babbling as the ravings of a paranoid lunatic, and no one took him seriously. In any event, Nick cornered me and asked me to join him and his mystery accomplice. I declined the offer and threw Nick out of the window of a tower. Okay. Yes, he also gave me a pretty significant ass-kicking before I threw him out of the aforementioned window. Sheesh, why don't you just focus on the insignificant details already? Unfortunately, the bastard survived and disappeared into the void from whence he came. Oh yeah, the fucktard also tricked me into sleeping with him by disguising himself as a THEM IT operative who bore a striking resemblance to David Brennan, a celebrity crush of mine and former star of the sci-fi TV series Mr. Watt. I'd rather not admit that tiny detail, but if I didn't tell you about it, Mary Sue probably would, and she'd undoubtedly embellish it to the utmost point of embarrassment. So there you have it. If all of the other bullshit Nick Ginn put me through didn't make me want to plunge a sharp, cold knife into his soft, moist gut, that tactic certainly put the jackass on my top list of people to kill. Who else is on the list? Well, Aside from pretty much all of humanity, Michael Bay for crimes against 80s and 90s pop culture, and Winona Ryder for being a brat. Ever since that run-in with Nick, I have been taking informal daily martial arts lessons from Mary Sue. One major difference between assassins and PSKs is assassins are fully trained in martial arts. I'd never really had an interest in martial arts before, but after getting my ass handed to me by Nick, I reluctantly admitted it might be a worthwhile skill to take up, because even before he joined THEM as an assassin, he was already a deadly martial arts expert. I didn't want to have to see Mary Sue more than what was absolutely necessary, but there's really only one other assassin whose identity I know, and let's just say that he is not an option. And yes, that is all I'm going to say on that matter. So I think that should more or less bring you up to speed. I kill people for a living, and I like it. Zeke is my disgusting boss. Mary Sue is an obnoxious burden to whom I owe my very life. And Nick Jin is conspiring to bring THEM down and anyone who stands in his way, namely me. I still say it would have been easier if you'd just read the first book.
Hey, this is Lee.
And this is Michelle.
And this is Scott from the Dead Zone, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
What are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome to become a successful published author, Mark?
Oh, goodness, so many. Well, when I started off, I did the self-published route for the Norrisan Chronicles, which was both rewarding and extremely challenging at the same time. So that in itself was quite an obstacle. Doing everything yourself. Then with Sarah Killian, I had published a short story through one of Crystal Lake's anthology collections earlier, before they had turned into full print and doing novels. And then when Joe sent out contacts for when he was doing an open call submissions for his taking on novels, I had literally finished Sarah Killian within the last few months at that point. So it really kind of was kismet timing and just fell into place.
Excellent, of course, Mark. He's doing some great things over there at Crystal Lake Publishing, Joe Meinhard. And we have spoken to many of the authors there, as we have a partnership with Crystal Lake and a few other publishers that we work with, and we've had some rewarding conversations. Okay, so thank you so much for talking to me today. One last question before you go. If you could talk to yourself when you were first looking to get your work published, all those years ago when you had dreams of being an author and didn't really understand what it was going to be like, and for many of the authors out there, and for many of the wannabe authors out there, it is very different than when you finally get here and you look around, and you do have to adjust your expectations. You do have to increase your self-strength and your self-discipline and really hold on to your dream. What would you tell yourself back when you were just getting started, Mark?
I would tell myself, it's not an easy road, but it's worth it in the end. Just hang on, keep going, you'll get through it. That's really just don't give up on yourself.
And it really isn't an easy life. You have to have that strength. You have to have a suit of armor, and you have to be able to get yourself beaten down, have your heart torn out, burned at the stake, and then get back up and say, okay, let's do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
Mark,
exactly.
It's been great speaking to you. Thank you for coming on What Are You Afraid Of?
Thank you for having me.
And we'll have links up to your work at our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. And our audience can follow your Twitter, literally at the @ Mark_Sheldon 122, kind of like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. And you can find his author page on website. Again, we can find links to that at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find expanded content, a page for every episode up to 124, and our archive of ghost stories. And of course, we're on Parax Radio at Friday nights at 9 p.m. We'll be back with episode 125 as we return to our New Orleans material and move into the autumn. We've got some wonderful surprises coming up for our audience. This is T. Fox Dunham. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output.
We're back.
We are back. That was wonderful.
Yeah, Mark's a great guy. He's a great author. Yeah. He's been very patient with us but I warned him it can take several months to get material on the show.
Yeah, exactly. So the longer the wait, sometimes the sweeter the payoff. So
exactly, especially because we're doing so well. The website's getting so many hits, and our show numbers are going up dramatically.
I know they are. Yeah, and I'm very excited about that too. So he's coming in at the right time.
He is, because we've stayed in the game and we've built a reputation, and now we're going to Phenomenon.
Yes, we are, and I can't wait. Oh, I wanted to let you know that my book, Worst Afterlife Ever, is as done as it's going to be right now.
Okay,
that way. So it's just 5 edits done on it, and it's completely done. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I'm excited because it's been, it took me a while to write it, and then of course the edits take a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's five full ones that were done on it. So
good.
It's ready. It's ready to go. It's ready to put it out there.
That's what I was.
See what happens.
That's what I was doing at Square One Cafe. Was that I was working on an edit of a short story that I wrote like 5 years ago, and I've not been able to find a home for it. And I keep doing edits on it, and finally I sent it off to a new anthology that's coming out, and the editor said it needs some solid edits, but there's a lot of promise here. Get the edits done. Try this and send it back, and we'll see.
Oh, very wonderful. Nice.
So that's
congratulations.
We'll see. That's the way it goes, though. Sometimes it can take years and years for a story to find the right place, for you to get into the right place. But if you keep trying, eventually it'll find a home.
It will. You're right. You're absolutely right. Now, we'll see what happens. I haven't submitted it anywhere yet, but we'll see.
Well, you've got some great options. You've got another book coming out, I know.
Yes, Poe Predicament, but that's
in process.
It might be a while. Yeah, that's in process. Yes, correct.
It can take a year or two from after you make the sale of a novel to when it actually comes out.
Right. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to everything that that's coming up in the future. See what happens. I'm optimistic for 2020.
Well, you've got every reason to be optimistic. You're a fantastic author.
Well, thank you, and so are you.
Well, thank you, sir. And we're in a couple anthologies too that are coming out.
We are. We're in that one that's coming. I'm not sure when it's coming out exactly. It's called Nightside.
Yeah.
Right. Tales of Outer Noir.
Yeah.
And that one's edited by Mark Slade.
He's finished the edits. He's finished the collection, the last stories, and he's going to get it to press soon.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
So am I. But this has been a great episode. We got to thank Mark Sheldon for contributing his content. We're glad to get some authors back on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mark.
And we will be back with episode 136, and then we've got interviews scheduled with Keith Linder of the Both Hell House, the Poltergeist. He's a bit of a controversy, but like I said, we're here for the story.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we'll see what happens there, though, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're here for the story. And then we'll be in Phenomenon. And I've got some great guests that I'm lining up, and we'll probably line up some guests at Phenomenon and see our friends from Para X.
Yeah. I can't wait. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have a great time.
It will.
And I hope everyone comes out and, people that are in that area comes out and, visits us. Check out the table, check out the convention.
Yeah. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But this has been a great show. Thank you, Phil. This is T. Fox Dunham.
And this is Phil Thomas.
Authors, we're tree killers in the end. We kill so much paper.
Yeah.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife, Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A television series based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology Points of Origin from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time. Find out more information at www.tfoxdunham.com.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into 2 feature films, False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon Prime on demand. His screenplay, 3 Tunnels, was a semi-finalist at the LA Screenplay Competition. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, GameSkinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. He formerly held the position of Senior Marketing Manager at Eternal Press, and was a journalist for Patch, where he wrote a daily tech column covering the latest electronics and gadgets. He lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and is currently working on his second novel, Worst Afterlife Ever.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.